Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Chatter with Coach, where this week we are going to be covering what is fitness. And this may seem like a bit of a silly question, because it's how fit you are, it's how physically able you are to and then you kind of, people can't quite put their finger on exactly what it is. Now, fitness totally means different things to different people. But I wanted to go over, first of all, what fitness is not. And fitness is not your waistline. It's not what dress size you are, okay? I don't really care about somebody's size and their weight, okay? If they want me to help them lose some weight, I will do my best to help them. But when I'm gauging how fit somebody is, I'm not looking them up and down and thinking, carrying bit much around the middle there. It's not vaguely on my radar. It's not. And a lot of people have it in their head, especially women, that fitness is synonymous with their weight and that fitness is simply a path to get to a lower weight. And I think it's quite sad that that is the association that people make, really, because I think there is so much more that you can do with your body rather than get it smaller with fitness. So, I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail, but I just wanted to make that clear that, this channel, this podcast, wherever you're watching it, it's not about how to lose weight, okay? For I know that it is a desired outcome for many people, and I'm going to be touching on topics of weight management, but it should not be the end goal. It should not be the ultimate thing that we're working towards, that our only goal in life is to reach this target weight, okay? That's really not the kind of person I am, and that's really not the kind of coaching that I want to be doing. It's not what I want to help you achieve. Obviously it can be part of the journey, but I wanted to look at fitness in a broader sense. So I asked the dictionary before I started this, what is fitness? What is the definition of fitness according to the dictionary? And it's the capability of the body of distributing inhaled oxygen to muscle tissue during increased physical effort, which I think is quite a nice definition, really, and it's one that I agree with. If we hear that somebody says, my brother, he ran 100 miles, you think, wow, he must be really fit to do that. Oh yeah, he is. He does loads of running. Great. If you were to see somebody who was visibly really thin, but didn't look healthy, you wouldn't go, oh, they're really fit, aren't they? You go, oh, they don't look very well. They don't look great. You wonder what other factors might be going on there. So for me, fitness, it's about what you can do with your body rather than how your body looks. Because how your body looks is really quite difficult to influence. It's really quite hard to be able to lose weight, to gain muscle. And those are the two main goals that a lot of people have when they'll join a gym. And look, these are perfectly reasonable goals. I have programs that help people lose weight, because there is a big call for it. I understand that I'm relatively good at it in the way that, I help people understand the real sort of foundational issues and how to tackle them without sort of making them feel small. Again, this is why a lot of people will start this journey, but I really think that it's difficult to maintain a level of fitness for a prolonged period. And when I'm talking about a prolonged period, I'm talking about years, decades here. If your only motivation is how you look. Some people have that motivation. Some people have been lifting in the gym. Some people have been doing exercise purely for the sake of managing their weight for several years, and they will continue to do so. It could be that because their physical appearance is of utmost importance to them, Especially somebody perhaps who their physical appearance is somewhat sort of important in their job, or even just to them in their personal life. And this is fine. I'm not knocking it. What I want people to disassociate is that every single piece of exercise and every single thing that you do in the world of fitness is all about losing weight or gaining more muscle. Because I think that's quite a narrow view. And I think that if you were to look at a cross section of people, sort of the fittest 10%, let's say, of people in the country, I'm not sure how many of those actually will be there simply for that sort of more aesthetic side of things. I know there are health concerns. I get that. Sometimes, very important health concerns. But I think that most of the fittest people and the majority of people who sort of do any kind of exercise, they are there for more than simply what they see looking back at them in the mirror, or how they perceive others to see them sort of physically, at least. But the fitness industry in general is very good at shaming people. It's what a lot of the fitness industry is based on. It's based on shame. It's based on guilt. It is based on making people feel that the current version of themselves is not good enough. It's making them feel sort of insufficient to be the kind of person that they want to be. It's knocking them down and saying, look, you are not where you need to be, but this gym, this personal trainer is what you need to be the person that you want to be. And this is how a lot of gyms sell themselves to people, as well as sort of personal trainers. Now, this isn't helped by different aspects of social media, print media, TV, all of this that will sort of place pressures on people. I don't think it's as bad as it has been in the past. Again, I think it is especially bad for women. And again, of course, myself, I'm not a woman, so I can't relate to that. However, there's definitely a sort of a strong sense, especially in more recent years, of what a man should be. Physically, the values they should have, this Andrew Tate type cult, I'm going to be honest, cult that is going around, telling you that you're only a man if you do this, and you have to do this, and women should, sort of being misogynistic towards women. Again, really horrible, mean-spirited stuff, which comes from a place of insecurity, if you ask me. We're going to get onto that in a little bit more time. But there's a huge amount in the media of, what a man should be, what a woman should be. And that fitness is often sort of sold as being the way for us to achieve this, to reach our sort of the goals that we have in our gender, to reach our gender roles in a sufficient way, in a way that will make us more attractive, more desirable to the opposite sex, is often a way that it's sold to us. And also people see themselves wanting to achieve these societal norms of what they believe a man or woman should look like. If they are going on holiday, if they have a wedding, either their own wedding or something they're attending. And it really does make me sad when people go on these sort of 6-week extreme diet blitzes to try to get themselves just to lose a little bit more weight for one of these big occasions, and sort of make themselves pretty thoroughly miserable in the process. And that's what they see fitness as being. They see it as being pain, they see it as being struggle, they see it as being suffering. And it doesn't have to be that way. Now, if a personal trainer either markets themselves online or sort of in person in a gym, and they prey on somebody's insecurities. Now, I don't think this, to be fair, this isn't the majority of personal trainers. It's a relative minority that will directly try to make somebody feel worse about themselves in a way that they can then help them. I guess it's a little bit like that dating trend of negging. Again, it's not something I really know about. I understand it's where, a man could approach a woman and make a disparaging comment to her, and then the idea is that you then start to flatter her a bit more, and that apparently that's supposed to work. I don't know, I don't know who that's supposed to work from. I think any sort of woman with any self-respect would just sort of throw a drink in his face and walk away if somebody came up and made a nasty comment about what she was wearing or her appearance or anything, but whatever. But yeah, the number of personal trainers who will really knock people and try to sort of harm their self-confidence, it's relatively small, but they are out there. But this is not a relationship that's built on trust. This is not a relationship that's built on mutual respect. This is a relationship that's built on shame. And the idea being, yes, you're not who you want to be right now. You're not where you want to be. And it's not done in a, oh God, you're disgusting, look at you. It's done in a much more sort of slimy sales tactic way, making people think, oh yes, well that is what's wrong with me. And this guy, he clearly, or woman, clearly seems to know, how it is that I can fix myself, how I can make myself a better version of myself. But these relationships, they never last. They might have sessions with them for sort of 6 or 8 sessions, and they start to realise that actually what they're looking to achieve, it can't just be achieved with a few personal training sessions. Again, I think I touched on this last week. People they really seem to obsess over, what the answers are, having like quick results, and you can't just get a few sessions with a personal trainer and that they will then solve all of your problems within those sessions. That's not going to work. You're looking at a multi-year journey to be able to achieve your goals, and that is the hard truth of that. And we need to make fitness enjoyable if we go, and like a valuable part of your life if we're going to achieve that. And I appreciate how people, they do want to lose weight. Nobody wants to be overweight, okay? Nobody wants to be sort of medically obese. Nobody wants to to look in the mirror and see something, looking back at it and think, oh, I don't really like that. But honestly, I'd rather, in an ideal world, that this was an afterthought for people. Now, using my own experiences as a man, when I started doing triathlon, and I started doing cycling, and I started doing running, I didn't really do much strength work at the start, but I was cycling and I was running. I remember one time I was sat in a pub, and I stretched my legs out. I was wearing shorts, and we stretched my legs out. And I noticed when I looked down at my legs as I was stretching, and the conversation wasn't that interesting, that I actually really had very visible leg muscles now. I went, look at that. And a friend of mine, she was sat next to me, said, oh, that's all right, that's not bad at all. But for me, that muscle gain, that definition, as it were, of my leg muscles, it was an afterthought. It wasn't the main thing that I was chasing. It wasn't the thing that I was pursuing. It was oh, look at that. If I had joined the gym and I had wanted to get bigger legs, because bear in mind, this would have been a year, 18 months into my sort of running and cycling journey that I noticed this. Wow, suddenly this has been this big change. If my goal was to get bigger leg muscles, I'd have been looking at my legs after every session. Why aren't they growing? Why aren't they getting bigger? I'd have probably given up after a month because I wouldn't be able to see any change. Whereas because for me, that improved aesthetic, as it were, was kind of an afterthought. It was oh, look at that. That's quite nice. I was able to focus much more on the process and the journey. I was much more interested in how far I could run, how fast I could run, my different times, over different distances, races, representing my club, going to the socials. This whole world surrounding it was far more important to me than how my legs looked. But it was a nice bonus. It was a nice afterthought. I haven't unfortunately quite got the guns. I'm wearing hoodies takes a bit chilly, but I haven't quite got the guns to be able to show for that. With my upper body, but I definitely have got more definition than I had before I started. And the same is true of of weight loss. Now, obviously, the triathlon that I was doing, I would have been burning quite a lot of calories in doing this, so this would have helped me manage my weight, and I would be carrying a higher body fat percentage, especially now I'm in my mid-30s. I would be carrying a higher body fat percentage if I wasn't doing triathlon. But again, it's not the primary motivator. Sure, it's a motivator. I know that if I do zero training and I eat really poorly, that yes, I am going to start putting on weight. But it's not what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's not that shame. It's not that self-flagellation. It's not that, oh, look at me, I'm disgusting, I can't do this, okay? It is the fact of, okay, well, I want to get faster. I want to get better. I want to achieve my long-term goals rather than just looking at exactly where I am at this moment in time. And really it is by doing that, we are sort of limited, our fitness journey is viewed through the lens of societal expectations. So what should a woman be? Oh, well, if we were to listen, especially sort of, especially if you grew up with sort of the diet culture of the kind of the 90s and the noughties, a woman should be as skinny as she should be. And she should have a house and home in good order. And she should have happy children. And she should be pleasing and supporting her husband. Oh, what is it that a man should be? Well, a man should be big and strong and muscly, and he should be a provider, and he should be a protector. And these societal expectations that we have, a lot of us see fitness as being a way to achieve these. It could be that you're a woman who feels that, that you want to be that sort of almost like 1950s housewife, because they weren't all antidepressants or anything, were they? That if they're able to slim down and they're able to get thinner, that would make them a proper woman. That would make them a real woman. And that would earn them respect from other people around the community, because a lot of the time we're looking for respect from people, whether it is from whether we're trying to attract a partner, whether we want to become more sexually attractive by getting stronger or by losing weight, whether it is the respect from other women or other men. If we're worried about what people might be saying behind our backs, we want to fit in with this. But the fact is, if you were to look at the archetypal ideal woman that I just explained there, well, I know plenty of women who married a rich man with big muscles, who have 2 children, pets, have a spotless home, they're really skinny, and they are miserable as sin. They feel trapped in this life. They're deeply unhappy. Maybe some of that unhappiness is because of this really strict diet that they have for themselves. Maybe some of that, the fact that they're unhappy is, this isn't related to fitness, but because they're drowning in debt to pay off all of this big house and this expensive car and this 3-piece suite, because they want to look successful, they want to gain the respect of others. Equally, there are lots of very confident, very strong, very masculine men who are protectors, who are providers, who look like me, and who have very happy, healthy relationships. Same way there are lots of larger women whose house is a bit of a mess, but you know what? They're happy. And they have a partner who looks after, who cares for them, makes them feel good about themselves. Now, I'm not saying these extremes are, they're mutually exclusive. I'm sure there are lots of women who are very happy, who are very thin, who do have an expensive house, they married someone who looks after them. You can have it all, but not many people have it all. And it really is one of those grass is greener on the other side things. People would tell themselves, oh, but everything will be fine when I lose weight, I'll be happy then. Or when I get more muscles, when I get stronger, then I'll be able to get a girlfriend and then I'll be happier. Look, I don't want to make this about dating, but if somebody's actually genuinely really interested in you as a person, if they are the kind of person you want to be with, chances are they're not going to be all that fussed about this. I know somebody who, I'm not sure of the exact sort of relation, somebody from my dad's side of the family, who he was saying how he didn't really mind. He didn't care about his appearance so much now that he was married. People see it as being something that you do to achieve something, that there is a definite kind of end goal, that you do this to achieve something. It is a grass is always greener thing, that things will be fine when, and once you achieve that, then it doesn't matter. And it's okay if these things are really desirable to you, if you're doing them for yourself as well. If society is telling you that, that you should be big, you should be more muscular, and you think to yourself, you know what, no, even if it's not nothing to do with impressing other people, even if it's nothing to do with attracting sort of men or women, I simply want to get bigger for myself. Absolutely fine. And I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody's individual goals here. What I'm trying to open people's eyes to is the fact that there is more to fitness than simply getting stronger and losing weight. And that if fitness can become, if this sort of weight management and body composition, getting stronger can be, and bigger, can be a byproduct of the fitness that you're doing, that's what I want to encourage people to move towards. And if somebody does have these goals of, well, I want to lose weight, I want to get thin. Okay, if you get yourself down to a size 8, if that was your goal, if you wanted to move from a size 12 down to a size 8 and you achieve that size 8, it's a fantastic achievement. As long as you did it in a healthy, sustainable way, I'm really happy for you, and you should feel proud. But what happens then? Do you want to go down to a size 6? I don't think many people are going to be healthy at a size 6. I'm not saying that you can't be healthy at a size 6, but a lot of people aren't. You go, okay, well, sort of, where do I go from here? Now that you've achieved your goal, it's even more of an issue with men, because they really develop. I know that women get body dysmorphia as well, but it is, I believe, a higher rate in men. Bodybuilders, because for them, they could be built like an absolute brick house. I not going to say that word, but I think you know what I was going to say there and stop myself. They could be absolutely ripped. They could be swole. They could be, they could have arms the size of my head. But they'll look in the mirror and they'll go, I'm tiny, I'm small, I'm weak, I'm insignificant. And it's very difficult to know when you get into a point at which you are big enough, when you have achieved your goal. And as a result, you have to ask yourself, okay, so, when will I have achieved this? If your body is sort of the canvas, as it were, you are going to get yourself to a point where it's going to be unhealthy for you to continue on this journey, where you are going to get to a point of extremes. So it's one thing to have a target weight. It's one thing to go, oh well, maybe I want to go up like a shirt size because I will be that much bigger and stronger. But you do need to have something more that you're working towards, I believe, than simply that. If you want to have sort of a healthy long-term relationship with exercise. So brings us on to the question, well, if fitness really isn't simply about muscles and how skinny you are, I mean, how else can we define it? How can I sort of explain fitness to someone? What is, at least my, rather than dictionary, what is my personal belief of what fitness should be? And when it comes down to it at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to how physically capable somebody is. Now, physically capable, it can come into a huge, a vast amount of things could be deemed, how physically capable somebody is. For a start, we can look at sort of general athleticism. Can somebody run? Can they hop? Can they skip? Can they jump? Can they do these basic athletic movements? I mean, that's a relatively low bar when you look at, if you go and see children in a playground, and you see they can do all of those, especially the younger children. As we move through life, I mean, to start with, when we are very young, we are much more impacted, where we're much less impacted by our environment and the choices that we make. If you have a child that is in preschool, or that is in primary school, the very early years, then chances are they'll all be able to run around, do similar things, jumping, playing with skipping ropes. They can do all of these things. Then as they move into secondary school, the environment they're exposed to, the food that they are served, not they choose, the food they are served, their activity levels, what it is they do with their spare time. Okay, we all start to diverge from, all being sort of children running around playing in the playground. We start to diverge. You have people who go out and they do lots of sport in their spare time. You have those who just sit at their desk playing computers, play computer games. You'll have those who will hang around with their friends, causing trouble around town. And these all become very, we all start to sort of spread out. And before you know it, by the time that somebody gets to like their 30s, whereas before in the past they would have been able to do these basic athletic movements, they can no longer, they've lost the ability to do it. Because, well, they didn't practice, they didn't keep up much in the physical activity in their life. And of course it's affected by diet as well, but behaviours, being the larger point there. But it goes beyond those. Can somebody ride a bike? Can they swim? Can they volley a ball across a football pitch? Can they lift off a heavy weight from the floor, whether it's a barbell or whether it's something a bit more functional, some heavy shopping bags? These, to me, are all much more important determiners of fitness than somebody's waistline. Yeah, if you look at powerlifters, if you look at shot putters, if you look at strength athletes, you look at them, and yeah, they're going to be sort of overweight for the most part. If you look at the BMI scale, they will fit within the overweight, maybe even the obese sort of part of the chart in some cases. I mean, you look at strongman athletes, they're not healthy people. But they are, they're horrendously obese, but they are still very fit and strong in their own way. This direct relationship between how skinny somebody is or how muscular somebody is and how fit somebody is really has to end. Because that's how people get less, they lose their self-confidence. I know plenty of people who go, oh, well, I feel that I can't go to the gym because of how I look, because people would laugh at me. I feel that I can't go running because of the way that I look. And there comes a point, look, I understand, I get it. If you have been told by society for several years that this isn't for people like you, you shouldn't do this. Okay, I hear that. There does come a point where you have to just go look, I'm just going to get over what they're saying. I'm going to forget I can't even name the people who are telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. I'm just going to get over myself. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it. I am going to turn up to that gym. I am going to lace up my running shoes. I am going to go to the swimming pool in a swimming costume. And I'm going to better myself. And if I keep this up, then I know that over time, as long as I'm careful with my nutrition, that I will start to look more like the other people around me. And a lot of people worry when they go to the gym. Oh yeah, but what will people think? People will be watching me. People don't watch you in the gym. They don't. People at the gym are too self-absorbed in what it is that they're doing to really notice or care what it is that you're doing. Okay, if you are doing something that is, if you are making a bit of a scene, as it were, if you are performing using a piece of equipment in completely the wrong way, if you are making a lot of real grunting noises, if you are drawing people's attention to you, I can understand how you might worry that you might get a few looks. And, oh yes, but I don't know how to do the exercises. Well, that's why there's programs like mine, my strength training programs, to help people understand how it is that you can perform an exercise, how it is that you can use that machine. I mean, there's plenty of resources on Google. Like not Google. Well, yes, Google, but also YouTube. You know, if you're unsure how to do things. But 99% of people don't go to a gym to watch what other people are doing. If you look at people at a gym, they'll be doing one of two things. They'll be exercising, or they'll be looking at their phone. Almost guaranteed. Yeah, I hear people, well, I see people online complain. Sorry, give me a sec. I see people complain. You know, say, well, if I'm doing exercise wrong, I expect somebody in the gym to correct me. I mean, for the start, like, I don't interrupt people when they're doing their workout. I think it's very rude. You know, I don't offer unsolicited advice, but I'm barely even aware of people in the space around me. I don't, like, I just can't, like, I couldn't really tell you about who else is in the gym with me when I'm working out, if I'm honest. Again, I will either be training, or I will be, I mean, I run an online business, so I might be well be looking at my phone about some messages that have come in. I don't spend my rest period sat there judging other people in the gym. I don't think very many other people do either. Sorry, I just lost my point in my notes there. So, I mean, these determinants of of fitness, I've been again looking at more kind of what people would term to be like tests of fitness. You know, running, swimming, cycling, lifting weights, kicking a ball, all of that. These are what people would consider to be sort of marks of somebody's fitness. But in reality, fitness also comes down to, well, okay, can you play with your grandchildren on the floor and then get back up again easily? Would you be able to chase after a runaway pram that's going down a hill? You know, would you be able to lift a fallen tree off of a path across it, or even a person that's something that's trapped underneath it? Would you be able to, if your car broke down, would you be able to release the handbrake and push it to safety? Could you climb a rope ladder? Could you run away from danger? These really are far more important in life in general. These are important. I mean, okay, so some of them is a bit specialized, some of them really, but the ability to be able to keep up, to adapt to the world around you, is really what fitness is much more about, if you ask me. You know, obviously, if you go out and you can ride long distances, you can win the Tour de France, doesn't mean that you're the kind of person who'd be able to pull, you know, a huge sort of fallen tree off of a path necessarily. You know, there are often different ways of doing it, but you'd still be an awful lot more capable than 99.9% of the population. And people who don't have any real level of confidence in their body or in themselves, they tend to retreat. They tend to sort of shrink inside themselves. They tend to hide from the world. You know, especially a lot of people as they get older. We all have a level of sort of strength and fitness when we're younger, but if we don't do anything to look after that as we get older, we do get more vulnerable. We get weaker. A lot of people. Older people tend to live themselves not in a perpetual state of fear, but there are those who are, I suppose it depends on the area you live in as well. There are those who are kind of nervous, a bit reluctant to leave the house because of how vulnerable they feel. And a part of that would be how physically unable they would be to sort of look after themselves or anyone else for that matter. And so that for me is that bigger picture of the sort of the fitness piece. And however somebody maintains that fitness is completely up to them. It could be that somebody joins a gym simply to maintain, rather than with the goal of, I want to get really big. They go there simply because they want to maintain the level of strength and level of independence that they currently have into their twilight years. Now, we are going to lose strength, we are going to lose independence, our posture is going to change as we get older. I'm not suggesting, if you start the gym at 20, by the time you get to 90, you'll still have the same levels of strength and independence. That's not really going to happen, no matter how hard you train. But there is so much that we can do to improve our quality of life with fitness. That, for me, again, so fitness and quality of life go hand in hand. Now, I remember in the winter just gone, it wasn't a really cold day. I think that, it would have gone under 0 degrees at the night before. But I remember walking along, I could see like bits of frost, just in the shadows. There were just these little sort of bits of white. It wasn't that cold. And I remember I went into the pet shop with my dog to get something, and I got sort of chatting to the owner, who I get on with very well. And she mentioned that there was somebody around the corner who had fallen over, slipped on the ice, but they had, but then they're waiting for an ambulance, but they had been for some time. And I mean, I sort of said, "Oh, really? Fallen over?" Which probably wasn't the right thing to say, really. But the owner said, "Oh, yes, well, it is slippery out there." She says, "It's all right. It's all right for you, though. You're fit." And I thought, well, it's not an accident. Obviously, the fact that I'm in my 30s, as opposed to, I imagine that she would have probably been in her 70s at least, this lady who fell over, obviously is going to have an impact on that. But people who have a higher quality of life as they get further into, further through the years, because of the fitness that they've done, it's not an accident. It is people who have invested hundreds, thousands of hours of their time to be able to avoid things like slipping over, you're slipping over on some low-level ice and sort of immediately needing an ambulance. Again, that's not me knocking her. It's just sort of her age. She could have other conditions. You don't know. I'm not judging her. I'm just using this as a general point that if you look after yourself, if you look after your fitness, if you keep moving, if you keep strong, if you keep doing cardiovascular exercise, then you are just going to have that better quality of life. You're going to be more confident. You're going to be a more able human being. And not only this, there isn't only that sense of of sort of confidence in yourself. You also, if you are a physically able person, you do just get that level of respect from other people. Sorry, just get another drink. If you are out for when you meet people, whether you're just bumping into them when you're walking or you're at a party, any kind of social event, if people can see and can tell that you are fit, then there's just immediate that element, just a little bit more element of respect that they give you. Again, it's not a case of like, I tell people that I've done an Ironman and they drop to their knees and go, "Oh, I'm so awed by you." It's nothing like that. But if I do tell people, I mean, I have shaved legs and I wear shorts quite a lot, so for a lot of people, it's probably not really that surprising that I do some form of endurance sport. But if I do get chatting to people, and again, it's not, I'm not the kind of person who mentions it every given opportunity. But they'll ask me, "What do you do for work?" "Oh, I'm a triathlon coach and I'm a personal trainer." "Or triathlon coach, what's that?" And we get talking about triathlon, I tell them about what an Ironman is. They go, "Wow." And they've got follow-up questions. I mean, sometimes they'll just go, "Oh, fair enough." Like, they're not that impressed, they're not that interested, but they are just still kind of, they still sort of respect me a bit. Kind of, "Oh, yeah, fair enough. That's good." They appreciate the feat, even if they're not interested in emulating that, even if they haven't got follow-up questions. And yes, I'm not suggesting that you or anyone else would be able to say, "Oh yes, I'm not saying you need to do an Ironman to get people's respect." But if you are that bit sort of stronger, fitter, more capable, you do just sort of carry yourself that bit better, and people can tell. People will be able to pick up on these things, and they will be quite, I'd say, sort of interested, a bit more kind of, if I say attracted to you, I'm not suggesting in a sexual way, but people, they're just drawn, instinctively towards those that they deem to be sort of fit a physically fine specimen. Now, this can be from a sexual perspective. I think we're hardwired to be attracted to people who we see to be fit and healthy, because we a part of us wants to think, oh well, they will be able to provide me with fit, healthy children. That is, how a lot of us are wired, and we just find ourselves sort of drawn to these people, who even if they're the same sex and we're heterosexual, we just sort of find ourselves like, oh, impressed. Oh, like I respect the fact that that you do this. Even if I am not like awed by the size of your muscles, I still respect you for the amount of discipline that it's taken to get to that size and the amount of hard work that you've put in, steroids or not. You never know. But obviously, you're what? I respect the fact that you've done that. And if somebody, oh yes, I do marathons, okay. I'm not going to say, well, I do Ironmans. I'll chat with them about their marathons. Oh, that's cool. And I might, once they finish telling me about their marathons, I might then share my experience. And we've instantly then got a bit of a connection there. I think the assumption that people make, because a lot of people, they will get into the world of fitness because they want to impress the opposite sex. They think, oh, if I lose the weight, maybe then guys will like me. Or, oh, women, they will be attracted to somebody who is really jacked, and then I'll be able to get myself a girlfriend. It's not really, doesn't really work like that. I mean, you probably don't need me to tell you that dating is much more about your personality than your looks. Obviously, if somebody simply isn't attracted to you at all, there's nothing you can do about that. I'm sorry. But if there is that little bit of a kind of, if you're both that little bit kind of like interesting, sort of get chatting to each other, getting away, and you're both smiling, then your personality is going to be far more impactful than your physical appearance. Now, if you were going down to the local nightclub and you fancy a lot, looking for someone to take home or go home with, then sure, maybe if those physical attributes are that bit more important. But realistically, if you are looking for something that's more than just, a night of fun, then somebody's personality is far more important. Now, somebody's body may help catch somebody's eye. But, when I was single, when I was shopping around, and looking around, or, wonder what's out there, not what, it was, I didn't really ever sort of get chatting to someone and think, well, she seems nice, but look at her. Like, I don't think that ever really crossed my mind. Obviously, there is that base level of attraction. We ever got chatting to some, I mean, to be honest, there are people who I saw, and there was no part of me that was attracted to them physically. But I then sort of get chatting to them, we get on, we have a few laughs, and I think, yeah, you know what, actually, there is something here. So it's understandable that people can think, oh, I really want to impress the opposite sex by getting fitter. But if you look at if you were to look at like somebody who wanted to get really fit, somebody who wanted to get a beach body. Okay, let's use that example. And it's a guy who is working really hard to get like the biggest arms and chest that he can, because he really wants to be the center of attention on the beach. Or you have women looking to lose as much weight as possible so they feel they can sort of slip into a bikini and feel confident. Cool, that's fine. I've got absolutely no qualms, questions, concerns with that whatsoever. You do you. If that's what motivates you, that's absolutely fine. I'm definitely not dunking on anyone who does these things. I'm just trying to point out there is more to fitness than this. And then they move on from, say we're at the beach, and there are lots of guys who are strutting around like a peacock, trying to catch the eyes of the ladies. And there are lots of women, again, who have worked really hard to get their bikini body ready, and they're sat there sunbathing around, hoping they're going to catch somebody's eye. Now, if I was single and I was on the beach myself, and there was, a woman next to me of my age, and they had a little beach tent, sun shelter, windbreak, something like that, that blew away in the wind and gusted away. And I then jumped up and I sprinted after it. And I grabbed it. And this thing is still flapping around in the gust, in the breeze. It's blowing away. I managed to wrestle it, grab it, get it under control, sort of fold it up, wrap it up, and then walk it back and return it to her, because that's the decent thing to do. I think that's going to do far more to impress her than the size of my pecs. It's because it's, oh look, this guy, for a start, has seen something like a possession of mine blow away, and his immediate instinct has been to help. Okay, that's a pretty good start. But also the ability of him to run, to chase after it. He's really fast. He had the strength to be able to grapple with it, to get it under control, and then bring it back to me. Like, that in itself, they find sort of more impressive than sort of somebody's physique in itself. She will, again, I'm not saying that she will immediately drop to her knees and give me her number and, ask to buy me a drink or anything like that. But if you were in that situation and you were looking to sort of appeal to the opposite sex, then be able to show that you are fit comes in. There's so much more to that than than your aesthetics. And more often than not, a lot of people talk about the importance of being thin, or the importance of being absolutely ripped, being really toned. A lot of the time, this is men telling men, this kind of Andrew Tate toxic masculinity manosphere crowd, is men telling men how they should look. And on the other hand, you have women telling women how they should look. And, really, this is, have you actually, of course, if I say, have you asked the opposite sex what you want, it's really difficult. I mean, I could go around a town centre with a clipboard, and I could ask all the women there what they find attractive, and find all the men there what they ask attractive. I get a real scatter graph. There wouldn't be a women want this and men want this. Everybody's attracted to different things. And at the end of the day, quick tip for those of you who are, out there looking for love, shared values and interest is probably actually the most interesting and valuable thing in my experience. But, I'm not saying that, that women don't want big muscles, but equally I know enough women who have expressed their interest of, oh, actually, you know what? I don't really like it when you have a man who has huge muscles. Often it's, I think a lot of women would quite like it if a man had sort of defined arms, sort of big, strong arms, as opposed to toothpicks. But that's not to say that they want to be able to make out the definition of every single muscle covered in baby oil. They don't necessarily find that attractive. So often it's a lot of men who are saying, you need to be this strong, you need to be this big. And that, if you lift to impress girls, chances are you'll impress far more men, other guys in the gym, than you will women. I think it's a funny video that I've seen on social media, you may well have too, but it's there's a guy who is sat there sort of on a squat rack, and he goes, lifting one plate for every girl that I've managed to pull since I've started lifting. And there's a barbell with all of these plates on it. And he bends down and picks up this bar that's behind the other one, lifts up a bar with no weight on it. And the fact is that as far as lifting to attract women goes, it doesn't always work as well as you think it might, or that you might want it to. And at the end of the day, most people who are there to lift, they're doing it for long term, who have been in the gym for years and years. They're doing it for themselves. They've clocked by now that actually this isn't something that women necessarily all really dig. Don't get me wrong. You could be a woman sat there going, well, I love a guy who's buff. I love it when they're ripped. I just love being held by those big arms. Cool. That's fine. And you know what? There are, there is somebody out there for everyone who will be attracted to what it is that you're after. But equally, I think a lot of the pressure on women to be skinny, it comes from other women, it comes from Kate Moss, it comes from magazine editors. It's this idea pushed on women by women. Say, well, a man will only want you if you're this size or whatever. When the chances are, I mean, there isn't really an alternate, but I've seen sort of polls where they've asked women, would you rather a man with a six-pack or a dad bod? And a surprising amount of women go, oh, I'd rather have a dad bod because it's a bit more cuddly. And I think some people also assume a six-pack with somebody who might be so obsessed with the gym they don't actually have time for that relationship for them. So there's lots of different factors at play there, but lots of pressure on physical appearance, on women being skinny, comes from other women, and to be honest, like a lot of men, they don't really mind. At the end of the day, what I really want somebody to achieve with their fitness is to become a more useful, more resilient, healthier human. And I think there are so many ways to achieve this. I mean, it could be through a gym. It could be through sport. There are so many options out there for you to be able to become a better version of yourself, that it's not simply about aesthetics. And the aesthetic bit will be pushed on you by gyms, by personal trainers, by social media, by your peers, by everyone like that. But this isn't to say that this is the only reason, that you may want to start lifting weights or to do classes. I mean, I see people who they simply see fitness as being a chore, and they're really excited when they find an exercise class that they enjoy doing. An online exercise class. Oh, I've managed to find this online exercise class. It's finally a fun way to get fit, and it's the answer to all my problems. The issue is with an online fitness class, because there isn't that same sort of community. Of course, it may be that there is a Facebook group that everyone's in, or some kind of online community, but people who really stick with, using the example of an exercise class, people who really stick with these things, they are people who go to gyms, who go to exercise classes, and it's a bit of a social thing. They get there and you'll have a little bit of a chat outside, 5-10 minutes waiting for the class to start. They go inside, they do the exercise, and then they go to the coffee shop afterwards and they'll have a little bit of a catch up and a natter, If you can introduce a social element into it, that is so powerful. But if all you want to do is find a way to keep weight off, without, Poppy's telling me to wrap it up. If all you're looking to do is find a way to keep the weight off that is vaguely tolerable, you are always going to have a troubled relationship with fitness and exercise. You really need to find a way to make it sustainable, to make it enjoyable, to feel that you really are getting something out of it. You're becoming a better version of yourself, rather than simply a more muscular or a thinner version of yourself. Hope you found that interesting. Hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions, drop them down in the comments or drop me an email. I'll see you next week.